Hello everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So, the list today is going to work a little bit different. I have basically worked in three different lists into one list. So, every entry on this list will be one Bond girl, one song and one villain. Because one of the most important things about the Bond films are, of course, the villain. Maybe the most important thing at all. The song is also very important because it sets the tone and, sets you up properly for the movie when done right. There has of course been a couple of good James Bond films with pretty lackluster songs, and that's fine. And we're also going to talk about the leading ladies, aka the Bond girls. So here we go with this list, shall we? Now the rules for the songs are, of course, it has to be the opening song, and I'm going to rank them basically how good they are. When it comes to the villain, it's going to be a combination of, the performance, the iconic status they have, and the plan. The plan is very important. When it comes to the Bond girls, it's going to be a combination of hotness, the performance, iconic status, and wait. Stop that, you hypocrite. It's mostly going to be oogling, isn't it? Okay, it's mostly going to be oogling. The Bond girls are mostly going to be about oogling. Sorry. Number 10. You Know My Name from Casino Royale is the best song from the Daniel Craig era. It's a cracking song by Chris Cornell, perfectly setting up, the new era of James Bond while still retaining a timelessness over it, which I really appreciate. Franz Sanchez from License to Kill. Robert Davi's drug lord from the 1989 Bond film License to Kill is an underrated villain. He may at first glance look more like your standard 1980s drug lord villain, but they gave him the James Bond treatment, which gave him gravitas, which gave him a purpose. They also gave him an evil lair, an evil lizard, and they gave him Benicio del Toro as a right-hand man. A very underrated villain, if I may say so myself. Octopussy from Octopussy. By the way, can anybody explain how Maud Adams can die in The Man with the Golden Gun and then be resurrected as a totally different character 9 years later? I sure as hell can't, but Octopussy is an iconic leading lady for the Bond films. Octopussy is a vastly underrated James Bond film with a very underrated Bond girl, because Maud Adams had such a charisma and had such a gravitas to her character, and also had a very fascinating character. Also, she has an island of women. That's fun. Number 9. License to Kill from License to Kill. Got a license to kill. It is such a great, epic, boisterous 80s pop song. Who could ask for more in a Bond movie? Mr. Big from Live and Let Die. Roger Moore's first adversary as James Bond was Mr. Big. The idea for Mr. Big was essentially to make him an evil James Bond type of a character. He was supposed to be as cool as James Bond, he was supposed to be as swagger as James Bond. He was also equipped with, a fortune teller, an immortal voodoo warrior, and the dude with, the snappy thingy and the crocodile feeding thingy. I never really understood the Kananga Mr. Big thingy where they, essentially did a Scooby-Doo in the middle of things. But I love Mr. Big as a character. I just wish he could have had more cronies, more henchmen, and had, this big evil lair or something like that, which all James Bond villains should have, but apparently they didn't give it to him. That's a bit of a shame, but he's still ranked as one of my favorite Bond villains of all time. From The Living Daylights, Cara Millaway. It's always fun when the Bond girls are given their own character arc and their own motivations in a movie, and the cello playing Bond girl in The Living Daylight, a fantastic James Bond film, by the way. I love her entire arc of her being suckered in and in this spy plot and then are fleeing with James Bond, and it gave her a purpose and it gave her some character. I like that. That was very good. Number 8. Goldeneye from Goldeneye. Dun, 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 dun. Ba-da! When those notes started and Tina Turner's fantastic voice started singing this bold, boisterous, big and absolutely timeless song I felt when I sat and watched this movie on opening night 1995. This movie is going to be so good because this song is so amazing. Is it Tina Turner's greatest song of all time? Yes, I do think so actually. Dr. No from Dr. No. This is such an iconic movie villain. The look, the suits, the henchmen, the sets, everything is fucking great with him. Also, we don't get to see Dr. No for the majority of the movie. We're saving him for like the third act. Before that, we only get him mentioned. We only get, to hear his fantastic voice when he's talking to the guys going to kill James Bond with the spider. Why don't they just shoot him? I don't know. Dr. No is such a fantastic and iconic villain. The only reason why he isn't higher on this list is the mere fact that, his plan is a little bit vague and a little bit, but why are you doing this? Christmas Jones from The World Is Not Enough. Okay, so this is more of the sort of eye candy portion of the Bondgirls, because the performance of Denise Richards is fucking awful. It is actually so awful, it goes all the way back and becomes sort of almost endearing and almost kind of charming how bad this is. Because, in the late 90s, everybody had a crush on Denise Richards, me included, and watching it back, while it was stupid, while it was silly, and while it was a terrible performance, it at least was memorable. And look at her, Jesus Christ. Number 7, Diamonds Are Forever from Diamonds Are Forever. This song has a cold and ominous atmosphere that no other James Bond songs have. And the pauses before they go into the Diamonds Are Forever bit of it is fucking great. I love it. From Spectre, Blofeld. Casting Christoph Waltz as Blofeld seems like a match made in heaven, and he probably would have ranked even higher on this list if he hadn't been so absent from such large parts of the movie. But when he does show up in the Moroccan desert, his evil big lair, and taking them on the tour and showing him all his evil gadgets and stuff like that, that was my absolute jam when it comes to James Bond films. But then he slips down the card a little bit again because, of the entire end of the movie where all the mind games and stuff like that happened. Did he plan that before James Bond escaped and blow his all things into smithereens? I don't know. It is also very distracting that while he's doing the, drilling small holes into James Bond's skull, he's sitting there with loafers and no socks. That is the only thing I could focus on. Why are you not wearing any socks? Aren't your feet really sweaty at this point? I thought to myself. I don't know. I mostly remember the, loafers with no socks. That's weird, but it's a very good performance. Jinx from Die Another Day. This is basically the Denise Richards bit, but even worse. She had to say lines like, "Help me, James, or I'm not going to be half the girl I used to be," and stuff like that. It was a terrible performance, but look at her. My God. She also tried to replicate the Ursula Andress spot from Dr. No, which may or may not show up later on this list. It was an attempt, it was not a successful attempt, but almost. Halle Berry's performances has always been a mixed bag, but she at least has some iconic moments in this movie. She looks like $1,000,000 and she carries her own weight in the action sequences, so who am I to argue with her? Ooh. Number 6, The World Is Not Enough from the same movie. Garbage was a semi-successful act in the late 90s, but I cannot remember a single song they ever released apart from this. This is such a big, timeless, epic, old-school James Bond song that, I don't know, it beats most of the epic, old-school James Bond song that was released before this. It is the last truly fantastic Bond song. From Goldeneye, Alec Trevelyan. I love the idea of a rogue MI6 agent working for the bad guys, planning evil deeds, having a satellite in space that can take out London and stuff like that. It was a fun plan, but it was elevated massively by Sean Bean's performance, and he brought a ferociousness to the performance that made it instantly iconic. It is a great fucking villain. Triple X from The Spy Who Loved Me. Barbara Bach was a pretty terrible actress. But unlike Halle Berry and Denise Richards, she ranks higher on this list because she actually had a pretty good character and that she had a pretty good motivation for the whole thing. The entirety of, James Bond killed her husband. Therefore, Mr. Bond, I'm going to kill you once this mission is over. That is a thing that made The Spy Who Loved Me a more compelling story. It also gave it a flair of uncertainty and a looming threat and a different dimension than other James Bond films has done, and Triple X is responsible for that, and that's fine, and that is a very good thing to do. Number 5. Live and Let Die from Live and Let Die. It's a very stressful and energetic rock track. Da-na-na, 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 da-da-da, da-da. I love it so much. By the way, which version do you like the best? Do you like best the Paul McCartney version, or do you like the Guns N' Roses version? I don't know. Sometimes I like the Guns N' Roses version more, and sometimes I like the original more, but both of them are really good. Auric Goldfinger from Goldfinger. Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. That line alone should give any Bond villain a top spot of the 10 best Bond villains of all time. Jet Fabre's fantastic performance as Auric Goldfinger is iconic, and I love it so much. His Grand Slam operation is fun, the presentation where the entire model rises from the floor like he was a part of an Austin Powers movie. It is so iconic. When it comes to evil plan presentation, no one can hold a candle to Goldfinger, with a big model that rises from the floor and he just points at different things. It's really funny, and it is really silly when you're thinking about it, but they don't treat it as something silly. That is why it is fucking amazing. He also has the greatest henchman in the history of ever. Odd Job with his, iconic hat and stuff like that. Fucking great. I love you, Goldfinger. Melina from For Your Eyes Only. Melina and her trusted crossbow wants to kill the Bond villain because he killed her family, and James Bond is gonna try to stop her from doing that because that's basically my job, and also it will destroy your soul if you do so. Blah, blah, blah. I love the fact that we have another great Bond girl with a motivation and a story arc to herself. It doesn't hurt that she actually has a pretty interesting character, is super gorgeous, and it's actually a pretty good performance. Number 4. Thunderball from Thunderball. Whenever I hear this song, I don't think about Tom Jones. I actually think about Weird Al Yankovic and his Spy Hard song that he did for the parody Spy Hard. The only good thing about that entire movie, but we're not going to talk about that anymore. This brooding, dark, slow and majestic song is so elevated by the fantastic dark and deep voice of Tom Jones. It is so iconic and I love it so much. Francisco Scaramanga from The Man with the Golden Gun. If Scaramanga's evil plan would have been something else than create solar energy, I probably would have ranked him higher on this list because this is one of my favorite actors of all time. Christopher Lee as a Bond villain. How much better could life be? Well, he could have had a better plan maybe, but it is an iconic performance and I love Christopher Lee so much. He has to be somewhere on this list, and number 4 is of course the place where he belongs. From Casino Royale, Vesper Lynd. Is Eva Green the greatest French actress of all time? I can't from the top of my head think of a better one. So we have a fantastic performance from a fantastic actress who looks like this, who has a character that is actually a 4-dimensional, fully fledged character whose relationship with James Bond actually makes complete sense, and they have great chemistry together. Case closed. The only thing that prevents her from going even higher on this list is the fact that she shows up, at half point of the movie. Number 3, Goldfinger from Goldfinger. Goldfinger. Doo-doo-doo. Her voice is angelic and majestic, and she takes basically a pretty standard 60s pop song and turns it into a cultural icon. It is so amazing, and the final tone is Goosebump City. Fuck me, it's great. Max Zorin from A View to a Kill. From a pretty bad James Bond film, we have a performance for the fucking ages. Jesus Christ, Max Zorin, what a fantastic villain he was. I mean, he's played by Christopher Walken. He gets a lot of screen time, he gets to kill most of his henchmen and has an evil plan to flood Silicon Valley. That's great. It's appropriate for the time, and also he meets his demise by falling from the Golden Gate Bridge. Fucking iconic. Too bad that he couldn't have, been placed in a better movie than this. Wei Lin, Tomorrow Never Dies. Not only is she a knockout, she will knock you the fuck out if she had the opportunity to do so. Michelle Yeoh enjoyed being one of the greatest female action stars in Asia throughout the 90s. If you want some proof of her insanity, watch Super Cop and watch her jump onto a moving train with a motorcycle. For real, she's almost killing herself. She's basically the Cactus Jack of, movie stunts. That is incredible. Wei Lin is the best example of trying to, hook up James Bond with a female agent who is sort of on his level, and they can, work together, and it feels organic and not forced. And I believed every single bit of her kicking ass and shooting bad guys. Fuck me. Michelle Yeoh is fucking great. Number 2, Moonraker from Moonraker. Whenever I hear those first spacey little notes and then hear the "Where are you? Why do you come?" and stuff like that, it is goosebumps all over myself. It is amazing. It is such an iconic and it's such an atmospheric song. I love it so much. It fits the movie perfectly and builds up this grand operatic space adventure for us. It's so great. Blofeld from You Only Live Twice. This is the ultimate Bond villain. He has a fantastic plan. He has a lair that is underneath a volcano where people in different colored jumpsuits have monorails. He has the cat, he has the Spectre, everything. There is only one reason why he's not on the top spot, and when I tell you about it, you will know. But Donald Pleasence's amazing performance as Blofeld is still the best. Screw everybody else who has tried to play Blofeld. This is the ultimate Blofeld. Pussy Galore from Goldfinger. She's so much better written than she was in the book Goldfinger. It's a pretty damn good performance when you're thinking about it. She delivered the line, "My name is Pussy Galore," and she did it and you believed her. Her animal magnetism, her fantastic chemistry with Sean Connery, and the fact is that she was a force of nature was something to behold. I love her so much. She's such an iconic Bond girl. Number 1, You Only Live Twice from You Only Live Twice. I love the melancholy, almost sad tone that this song has. It feels like, the end of an era. We're approaching the end of something. And the song is just so fantastic. It is so atmospheric and everything works about it. Exotic tones that, creeps in here and there. The chorus and of course the na 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 na. Oh, it's so good. From Moonraker, Hugo Drax. Hugo Drax is a Bond villain on speed. Not only does he have the greatest plan in the history of Bond villains, but he also has the greatest plan of all time, periodly. There has never been a greater and more silly and more awesome plan for anybody than Hugo Drax. Hugo Drax's plan is the following. He's going to kill the entire human race with the help of his virus that spares all the animals. That was nice of him. And then he's going to repopulate the world with his own master race. I cannot think of a single person with a better plan than that. He also has so many opportunities to kill James Bond, but decides to go the old Dr. Evil route about it. No, I'm just going to leave and assume that everything goes according to plan. Also, Michael Lonsdale is fucking killing it in this movie. He's great, and Hugo Drax is the best Bond villain of all time. Honey Rider from Dr. No. How could it not be? She emerged from the water looking like that, wearing that. She may not be the greatest actress of all time, but that is a cultural milestone and a male fantasy come to life. So I'll see you next time for so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.